What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with referee called out by MMA community for UFC 300 mistake. In the main event of UFC 300, Alex Pereira picked up a stunning knockout win over Jamal Hill, putting the former champ to sleep in the very first round. While the highlight reel KO was impressive enough, moments before sitting Hill down on the canvas, he waved off referee Herb Dean following a low blow. An inside leg kick from Sweet Dreams caught the cup of the light heavyweight champ, resulting in Herb Dean momentarily stepping in. However, much like Demetrius Johnson many years back, Pereira waved off the referee. During a recent video for his YouTube channel, Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier said that his quote-unquote nephew believes Dean made a mistake by not resetting the fighters.
Herb Dean made a mistake, Ben, because while we are all lost in the idea of Herb goes to step in, Alex puts his hand out, Herb steps back.
Yep.
When you have an illegal strike, they are saying that they should have been separated and then they come back together as a fresh restart. It didn't happen. Very short time later, Alex landed the shot that put Jamal down.
Seconds.
And knocked him out. I mean, seconds.
Chael Sonnen then echoed a similar sentiment in a video for his YouTube channel, explaining,
I finally saw something that I had never looked for. The entire time I watched Herb Dean, I look back, I watched Alex finish, I go back, I watch Herb, watch Herb and Alex. What I never looked for is what Jamal did. Have you? But Jamal stops. And not 100%, right? I mean, if this is an automobile, I'm not saying that he put it in park and got out of it, but he stops. But this is what he did. He took his eye off that ball just for a second, but he turns that way, and now he's got to get back in. As he turns his head, Alex took the angle.
Despite some members of the MMA community criticizing Herb Dean's officiating, fellow referee Big John McCarthy defended Dean on social media, writing, "It is inherently bad for the sport and unbelievably embarrassing to hear people who supposedly know the sport of MMA smear the actions of Herb Dean as if he was responsible for the knockout of Jamal Hill. Let's make this as clear as possible for everyone. Herb was perfect in the actions he took in allowing Alex Pereira to call off the timeout for the kick to the groin and then keep the action of the fight in motion. The fighter who is fouled by a strike to the groin is in control of how much time they need to sufficiently recover from the foul." Despite the situation, Jamal Hill seems unlikely to get an immediate rematch, with Magomed Ankalaev expected to get the next crack at the belt. Next up, let's take a look at Robert Whittaker was not impressed with Bo Nickal's performance. On the main card of UFC 300, Bo Nickal squared off with Cody Brundage in what many considered the toughest test of his professional career. The fight saw Nickal pick up a second round win. However, as Nickal indicated after the fight, he wasn't impressed by his performance. Many members of the MMA community seem to feel the same way. However, Bo said that although he was disappointed in his performance, he feels as though he will eventually be a favorite in a potential fight with Khamzat Chimaev down the line. The way Robert Whittaker sees things, Nickal has some work to do before fighting a top 10 opponent. During a recent episode of his MMA Arcade podcast, Whittaker reacted to the fight and Nickal's win.
Don't care. To be honest. I don't care. I don't care for Cody Brundage very much. I think Bo Nickal. I think we saw some potential holes in Bo Nickal's game. You know, Bo Nickal finally got a guy that he couldn't just do what he wanted with.
Yeah.
And Cody Brundage isn't the best fighter in the world. But yeah, I think like Bo Nickal finally versed a dude that could kind of wrestle, kind of strike, and he didn't look as good as he has previously because he's been running through like shoe-ins for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. I think he's got some work to do before he's ready to fight like top 10 dudes.
Yeah.
So far, there's been no word as to who Nickal will fight when he returns to the octagon. However, as he said, he wants to return to the action sooner rather than later. Next up, let's take a look at John Jones would dominate Alex Pereira in a fight. Alex Pereira's UFC 300 win over Jamal Hill once again sparked discussions around the light heavyweight champ making the move up to heavyweight to compete for a historic third title. Despite no fighter in UFC history being able to capture gold in 3 divisions, many believe that Pereira has the rare opportunity to contest at heavyweight. Former bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw, on the other hand, isn't so sure. Speaking recently on a podcast, Dillashaw said that although he wants to see Pereira, who he considers the best kickboxer in UFC history, fight at heavyweight, he thinks John Jones would dominate the light heavyweight champ.
I mean, you've seen, like, he's not very good on the ground. Like, he's definitely, I mean, he's the champion that's got some holes in his game, right? But he's just such a good kickboxer, and the way he's learned MMA so fast is incredible.
That's crazy.
But I don't think he's got some holes in his game.
I
for
think
sure.
it-
Obviously, he's probably working on it. He's got an amazing jiu-jitsu fighter artist in his corner as Teixeira. So I'm sure he's evolving. I haven't seen him grapple in a while. It's not like any of his fights have grappled. So he could be fixing those holes. I have no idea. But John Jones would just out wrestle him easily.
Yeah.
You think so?
Despite fans eager to see Jones fight either interim champ Tom Aspinall or Alex Pereira, the heavyweight champ will first defend the heavyweight title against Stipe Miocic, while Tom Aspinall looks to defend the interim title. Although it sounds like a fight with Curtis Blaydes makes the most sense for Aspinall, given Pereira's recent performance, if Blaydes doesn't sign to fight the interim champ at the upcoming pay-per-view card in Manchester this summer, Pereira could wind up competing against Aspinall in an interim title fight. Next, let's take a look at Max Holloway fires back at Ilia Topuria's demands. In the wake of his UFC 300 win over Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway made it clear that he is interested in fighting Ilia Topuria for the featherweight title. Although his win over a top-ranked fighter like Gaethje could have put him in a position to call for a lightweight title fight, it's an undisputed featherweight title fight that the newly minted BMF is after. As Topuria indicated during a recent episode of the MMA Hour, unless Holloway's BMF title is on the line, he's not interested in fighting the former champ. During a recent interview with Jim Rome, Holloway fired back at Ilia, saying that setting conditions and issuing ultimatums isn't something a BMF would do.
I mean, that's not very BMF a way to say it. You know, a BMF wouldn't be like, I'm not gonna fight this guy unless this is that's kind of un-BMF. Yeah. Does it sound BMF of the way he's trying to demand it and saying I'm not gonna fight? A BMF fights whoever, whenever, any weight, anytime, and that's not a tone of a BMF, brother. So
the comments echo a sentiment shared by Holloway before his UFC 300 fight with Justin Gaethje, where he said that a real BMF doesn't care what weight an opponent walks around at. From the sound of things, Holloway is confident that despite the champ's comments, he and the UFC will be able to get a deal done that sees himself and Topuria compete for the featherweight strap. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at Dricus Du Plessis gets called out. Although it was Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill who headlined UFC 300, the UFC was also interested in a middleweight title fight between Israel Adesanya and Dricus Du Plessis. The fight never wound up coming to fruition, however, with reports saying that the champ turned down the fight. Chael Sonnen wasn't too pleased to see him in attendance. Speaking in a video for his YouTube channel, Sonnen took aim at the champ.
Adesanya and Du Plessis were offered the main event, and one of them said no. Based on interviews, it sounds like that was Du Plessis. And it's his career, and he done a damn good job with it. But if you can't fight because you're sick or you're hurt, don't come. It was the strangest thing in the world, and I couldn't believe the commentators didn't call this out. If it is true, you can't be there. I gotta tell you, that really is how I feel about it. You're gonna turn the fight down, and then what? You said, Dan, I came to the fight. Hey, Dan, can I get a ticket to the fight? What? I couldn't even imagine. This sport is plagued with fake tough guys.
So far, there's been no word yet as to when Adesanya and Du Plessis will share the octagon. However, the expectation seems to be that the two will collide at UFC 305 in Perth. Of course, the champ might not want to fight in Adesanya's backyard for his first title defense. Next, let's take a look at UFC fighter gets in an altercation on the street. An unsuspecting California woman nearly ended up on the wrong side of a beatdown from women's flyweight contender Macy Barber this week after being caught on camera messing around with a vehicle owned by one of Barber's friends. A video taken by Macy and her friend shows the unnamed woman alleging that Macy's friend doesn't actually own the car in question moments before touching the car off screen. Luckily for the woman, after she threatened Macy and the fitness model, the pair laughed her off rather than escalating things. Fortunately for the woman, the video ends without a physical altercation.
Please stop touching my truck.
I'm not doing anything.
Off my car,
Don't touch
please.
me because I could bust you in your
Hey,
face.
bust me in my face.
I beat both of you motherfucking ass, but I
won't
won't.
do it!
Macy Barber is fresh off a recent win over Caitlin Chukagian, which extended the streaking contender streak to 6 and pushed her up to 4th on the women's flyweight rankings. As Barber said back in March after her win, with Valentina Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso expected to compete in a trilogy fight, she's interested in being the backup fighter for the highly anticipated bout. Next, let's take a look at Jake Paul is fighting the winner of the Nate Diaz vs Jorge Masvidal fight in MMA. Prior to being booked for a boxing match with Jorge Masvidal, the Stockton superstar said that he was interested in a rematch with Jake Paul. Although the rematch never came to fruition, that could change in the future. As Jake said during a recent episode of his BS with Jake Paul podcast, he wants to fight either Jorge Masvidal or Nate Diaz in MMA after boxing Mike Tyson.
I'm being so serious when I say that I want to fight them in MMA. Either Masvidal or Diaz in the PFL, $10 million offer. They will literally hide behind the fact Masvidal, you can't even box. What the f you gonna do coming over to MMA, bro? I'm fucking from Miami, Florida, bro. Fucking you, dude. Obviously, I have Mike. Just do it after that. Yeah, I would do like a 6-month camp.
For his part, Nate Diaz has also said that he wants a rematch with Paul to happen in the future. Speaking to media members recently, Nate said that he has a hit list with Conor McGregor and Jake Paul's names on it. However, Nate seemed to say that he and Paul could collide in another boxing match, while the YouTube star said that he wants to fight either Diaz or Masvidal in MMA. The major hurdle to such a fight is the fact that Nate has showed little desire to compete in the PFL rather than in the UFC, meaning the two sides could wind up in a standoff depending on how things play out between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, and also his fight with Masvidal. Sean O'Malley gets exposed for allegedly saying the N-word on a live stream. Streamer and influencer Neon had O'Malley on the phone during one of his live streams when O'Malley allegedly said the N-word while speaking about a jewelry maker named Johnny Dang. Neon's immediate reaction tells it all. Here's the clip.
Humbling experience, bro. But I'm back home in Houston, bro. Where you at?
I'm in. I need to go get a grill from Johnny Dang in Houston.
Oh, that Chinese guy. Yeah, no, he's fire. He's fire.
Chinese. Would you ever come to Arizona?
This is what the MMA community had to say to O'Malley. One fan said, "Is someone gonna try and fight him over it?" Another fan said, "Who's gonna stop him? Not Aljamain Sterling." And another fan said, "He took the belt from Aljo by knockout. He's allowed to say it." And one fan claimed he gets the pass by saying, "With those hands, he can say whatever." And another shared the same sentiment by saying, "Sugar gets that pass." Nate Diaz is getting sued after an altercation in the street that took place last year with Rodney Peterson, also known as Not Logan Paul, an influencer that got his fame by simply looking like Logan Paul. In the altercation, Nate Diaz was seen choking Rodney out and leaving him unconscious on the street. Nate's representative Zach Rosenfield replied to the lawsuit with the word LOL. Here are our top comments from last video. Chandler's warning to Conor, "I swear to God, dude, I'll put my entire life on hold forever for you." Strickland, "I like Costa." 2 hours later, Strickland sends threat to Costa. Pimblett and Moicano as the Ultimate Fighter coaches would be insufferable, my brother. How are two guys who have never been in the top 5 of a division gonna be coaches for a season of The Ultimate Fighter?